Hello, you beautiful souls. Welcome to the Mystic Visionary Podcast. This is your host, Zia, and today our word is honesty. Let me just start by saying that again, I'm going to talk about honesty from the viewpoint of the new paradigm. And from the new paradigm, we're going to talk about honesty as an inside job. I think that when we think about honesty, we think about high moral standards, and we think of people that are being true to like cultural standards, like this is acceptable and this isn't acceptable. But I think there's a place to start before that. The place to start is this sense of internal honesty, of understanding and being truthful to yourself. Like, what is authentic to you? What is important to you? Who are you really on a deep, soul level? When we talk about honesty, we have to talk about authenticity. And that's when I meditated on this, that is the thing that came out the biggest to me. It's like learning to understand what your own values are, what really matters to you on a really deep level, not just some superficial, I want to have a nice car and a nice house. That really matters to me. No, I'm thinking more, on this really understanding of yourself on a deep level. Like what really matters and what do you value? And some people that's family, some people it's love, relationships, some people it's independence, it's freedom, it's a lot of things. It's different for every person. And I think that's the key to honesty. We have to take the time to look inside and really understand who we are. That saying, know thyself. That's that idea of doing introspective work, doing some, inner work of understanding and self-actualization of who am I? What do I believe? What do I find important? What do I value? And honestly see who you are. And then there's the opportunity that once you do that, then you have to live that authenticity in your life. And I think that is the next step of this that's really difficult for people. Because a lot of times, and I can speak from personal experience, I was more concerned about what other people thought than I was about what I thought. I was into people pleasing, and I was into making those around me feel comfortable and happy to my own detriment and to my own expense. I was not being honest. And it was really difficult for me when I finally recognized that. And I had to tell people, I'm really not being honest. I'm not being authentic, and I'm going to stop being that way. And they're like, well, what do you mean? What have you done? Or what have you done that or said, or how you've been inauthentic? And if I were to explain that to people, they would just look at me and go, wow, you're two-faced and phony, because that's what it looks like. I'm being two-faced. I'm telling you I like something when I don't, just because you like it and I want you to be happy. That is being two-faced. I'm being in a relationship with people that I should not be in relationship. I should have been out of the relationship a long time ago, but I was afraid to speak my truth or to be honest with myself that this relationship isn't working for me and we really don't have anything in common. So I spent my life looking outward to other people as a projection of who I thought I should be to fit in situations or to be friends with people or to be liked or accepted. And I've completely neglected my own inner knowing and honest belief in myself. And it's taken me a while, actually a long while, to dig in and really ask myself what really matters to me. As a matter of fact, last year, year before, I did this whole program that I gave at this organization I belong to in Arizona about what really matters. And it's a dive deep into asking yourself some questions and doing the work of finding out what you value. That's the bottom line. It's like, what do you value? What's important to you? And in order to do that, you have to be honest with yourself. And I think that that's something that we really don't do for those reasons I just talked about. And the other part of this, too, is that being a good citizen or being a good person or being a good employee or whatever you're engaged in requires a certain set of behaviors that we consider in the norm and that are acceptable. And honesty is one of those things. And honesty is this reflection of, you don't steal, you don't hurt other people, you do what you think is right and what the group thinks is right. And that's important. And I don't think we should, end that. That's really important to have that in our culture. But I think before we have that, before buying into that, you also have to know yourself. You have to know who you are and what you believe in and be authentic. I've been working on a new book about becoming an energy being and what it feels like in the world. I think I've talked about it before. We've spent a lot of our consciousness, or I have, focused on the physical. And I'm trying to focus on the whole energetic being of who I am and what it feels like to live as an energetic being or a multidimensional energetic being. And that's what we're called to do in the new paradigm. Well, part of that is understanding and recognizing this innate divine design that we each have. And that divine design comes from this internal knowing of your heart. I call it your heart, but it's this intelligence that is in around that area, your heart and your gut. It's like there's this knowing there of what's right for you and what's wrong for you. And a lot of times we experience that. We get this knowing that we just overlook, or we consider it and then say, well, I really should do this thing anyway, even though my gut is telling me I shouldn't. And how many of us have done that? And then you've done it and you went, why didn't I listen to my gut? Well, there's that part of us all. That's that uniqueness, that divine design, that never before, never again, one of a kind human experience, or that human expression of you. And that is your divine design. It's something that was instilled in us or implanted in us or came along with us when that spark of life started. It was part of our spark. And that's the part that I'm saying where we need the honesty. How many people have been given permission to connect with their divine design and really go inside and connect with that, and then stand behind that and say, this is who I am and this is who I want to be in the world. And I'm going to honor that within myself. And I think that it is something that's coming out now in a big way, because people have been so squashed, so boxed in by our culture and by labels and by all the identifications that we take on, and then we have to fulfill the roles of those identifications. And ultimately, we're not any of those things. That's one of the biggest things I learned when I went deep into meditation and had my big spiritual awakening in 2016, was the idea that the labels are all a fantasy. All the labels are just things to keep us derailed from this connection to our innate inner knowing, to our divine design. And not that labels are bad. Labels are fine. They're perfectly good labels that we have that are wonderful. But when you only identify yourself through those labels, then those are the expectations that you set for yourself. I'm going to use being a mom as one of those. Being a mom is one of the most wonderful experiences you can have. Being a mom is just filled with all kinds of great things. But also being a mom limits you in a lot of ways as well. As a mom, you put your children before yourself. You put your ideas of a lot of things you put before yourself. And that's supposed to be. That's what mothers are supposed to be. But I think that's what happens then when people, especially women, get to the point in life where their kids are grown and they're finally like the empty nesters, and they're going, oh, okay, now what am I going to do about me? And they're clueless about what they really want to do with their life. Or it's like, what is life about for me now that I don't have this, mom role anymore? I'm still a mom, but they don't really need me, so I have all this extra time. What am I going to do? And so we're kind of lost, and it takes people some adjustment to try to go inside and determine what it is or who it is that they want to become, or who they want to be, or who they've lost touch with. And truly, motherhood is the most wonderful thing. But also it goes along the lines of like professions, people who have identities of their job, like I'm an accountant, or I'm an auto mechanic, or I'm a factory worker. Well, then you become this identity of that factory worker, or this whatever, a doctor or an accountant or whatever you are, you become that. And then it becomes solely your representation of who you are. And then it sort of determines your life. And that's just a part of who you are. That's not all of who you are. So when you can let go of all those definitions and all those roles and all the programming that comes with that, and go into this deeper place of understanding that you're this spiritual being having a temporary human experience, and that you came here with a unique set of gifts, a unique set of beliefs, a unique set of understanding and perception of the life of life and the world, then you need to get in touch with that and live that authentically. That's what I am really believing that honesty is about. That the integrity of your own soul, the integrity of your divine design, that you find that you stand up for that you understand that, and that you live that. And when you're truly authentic and you're being honest about who you really are, you will bring the best of yourself forward. I think that that's the part that we're missing. I think a lot of people like, oh, well, what if my authentic self is a thief, and my goal is to go around robbing from people? Well, I don't really think anybody's authentic self is a thief. That is not true. I don't think anybody's authentic self is anything bad. I think that we are all good, and I believe in the good in people. I believe in the good at the base of everything. I wouldn't be doing this work if I didn't believe in the good. To me, that is what this whole shift in the new paradigm is about, is believing that good will prevail, and good will prevail, and that this whole cosmic consciousness, this whole intelligent life design that we're all experiencing comes from this field of absolute and complete love, unconditional love. That is like the aquarium water of the fish tank. We are all part of that. And that when we tap into our uniqueness, our unique divine design, that whatever that is within our heart that makes us uniquely the person that we are, this expression of the divine having a human experience, that is the truth of who we are that needs to be expressed and lived, and that there's nothing wrong with that. And you doing that only encourages other people to do that, and together we encourage each other to be the fullest authentic expression of ourselves. That is a blessing, and we should all be encouraging each other to do that. That is why I'm doing this podcast. That's why I did my of my website and the Heart Archetype Quiz and this podcast and all the things that I do are to help remind people to live their authentic life. And that in order to live your authentic life doesn't mean you have to say F you to everybody in your life. It is not that. And I think that we get caught up in that. I think that's what happened to me. I was afraid that if I lived my authentic life, or if I was completely honest and was actually living that out, that people wouldn't like me because I wanted them to think I was a nice person. Well, I still am a nice person. It's just that I was being inauthentic because I was so outwardly focused that my concern was about what will other people think rather than being real, which is a disservice to them and a disservice to me. We should not stop ourselves from being who we think we need to be or enjoying the life that we want to enjoy because it's going to upset someone else. And I know there's so many people out there doing that. I met someone when we were out camping. We spent a year on the road during the COVID thing, and I met a lot of people who just shifted their lives. And this one woman, I just remember her so well, who didn't like her job. She hated her job. And her office closed down, so she had to quit. I mean, there was no working from home from her job, so she lost her job. And it gave her some time to reflect and get back in touch with herself. So she bought a sewing machine because she really wanted to sew. And then she started cooking and remembered how much she loved cooking. And when she was working, these things seemed so frivolous and so meaningless because work took such a priority, and she was so tired from her job and worn out that she wasn't able to participate in these things that she really loved. Not to mention, she told me she thought it was silly and kind of embarrassing to tell people that she would rather stay home and sew and bake. It sounded like something out of the 50s, and she was embarrassed to even say it out loud. Well, she started sewing and she started baking, and she started then a online business where she sold things that she sewed and her food locally, the things she baked. And she had this booming business, and she was so happy. And she was living in an RV while she was doing all this and setting up her website and doing her business, doing that business online. And she was loving life. It completely changed her life because she had these belief systems about what she valued or what she enjoyed and who she was. And she really had to let go of them. It was forced onto her. And so she opened herself up to what brought her joy, and her life was transformed. And there's so many stories like that. If you really pay attention to the number of people's lives that were changed during the whole COVID lockdown thing, it's like mind-boggling. It was the beginning. I really think it was the major shift in consciousness that tipped this whole new paradigm. The people that have awakened because of that it was a tipping point. And there's so many of them out there living their lives now. It's really, I don't know, heartwarming, totally heartwarming. And I think there's plenty more people out there who are still afraid of upsetting the apple cart of their life and living authentically. So to me, that's what honesty is. Taking the time to just really be honest with yourself, to really look inside and say, what really matters to me? What is really important? How do I want to live my life? What do I value? I think it's critical that we take the time to do that. I don't think there's anything more important to do than to do that. And I believe also that it's different phases of our life, and different phases of our life have different values and different ideas of what's important. If you have young kids at home, then being a mother should be your number one value, and diving into that and being the best mom you can be, that, and or dad, mom or dad, being that for your family, that is critical and important, and you should take that on and live it fully and teach your kids about living authentically. But if you're still living that and you're bugging your kids every week and you're calling them and they're like, Mom, leave me alone, or you're trying to control their lives and they're in college or they're newly married or whatever, you need to back off and go, okay, I got to get my own life. Or people who retire, same thing that happens. They spent their life working at a job that they felt like they had value and it gave their life meaning, and now they're retired and they have to reevaluate what has meaning in their life. That's a huge thing. There's so many different cycles or stages of our lives that require us to look inside and ask the question, what really matters to me? What do I value? And take an honest look at that. And then once you do, start exploring possibilities of how you want to live, what you want to do, how you want to live that out in your life. What is the example of that? What does that really mean for you? It's like it could require changing a lot of things, but why not? Why not? The other part that I really recognize, the older I get, the more I realize that I have way less time in front of me than I did behind me. And am I going to spend time in activities that I really don't enjoy, or going places or doing things that I don't really enjoy? I have the choice to make. I can spend my time the way I choose. And the only person I really have to make happy is myself. And I don't say that out of some selfish thing, again, like, screw you people, I'm doing what I want. But in a way, I kind of am, because ultimately, if you are doing what you love and you are experiencing that kind of inner happiness and joy, how are you going to be to be around? People are going to want to be around you. You are going to enjoy life. You're going to be a better person because you're happier. And when you're happier, it's sort of like exponentially goes out into the field and affects more people. If you are living under stress and doing a bunch of things you really don't want to do, but you just feel obligated, or you feel like, I have to do this because my family expects it, or my job expects it, or people expect it, then how much joy are you having in your life? It's not the best way to live. So I think if you're really honest with yourself and take some time to explore what really matters, what do you value, what do you want to be doing with your life, go inside and listen to your heart. I just posted a guided meditation, I think it's episode 42, that helps you do that. Go into your heart and connect with your heart and just listen to what your heart wants to tell you. We need to take time away from our busy lives and all the have-tos and should-dos and all that, and get quiet and listen to this internal voice, this internal knowing that we all have. It's right there for you to listen to. I encourage you to go and listen to that meditation and see what comes up for you. All right, I think that's all I'm going to say about honesty today. Thanks for listening, and I'll be back next week with a new word. If you want to take the Heart Archetype Quiz, just follow the link below and answer the question for yourself. Am I listening to the call of my heart? You can also check out all the other resources I have on my website. It's also linked below.